I don't know what I expected.
Confession time. I have never watched Arrested Development. It's a show that's become part of the cultural zeitgeist of our time, and I've just never gotten around to seeing it. I probably should, though, at some point in my life, because I quote that show too damn much to have never seen it. With the number of times I respond with a, I don't understand the question, I won't respond to it, it's a travesty that I haven't seen the show. Same as the ease with which I dive into fanfics tagged Dead Dove, Do Not Eat, and the first thing I do is raise my eyes to look at the tags and pay particular attention to see if there's anything listed on there that I would not be comfortable reading or even skimming through. Because somewhere at the back of my mind, I am aware of the history of that phrase. Michael pulls out a bag labeled Dead Dove, Do Not Eat, proceeds to open it up and then turns with a deadpan expression towards the camera and says, I don't know what I expected. It's fucking brilliant and has been memed to death and just perfectly encapsulate what it means to move through this world with the expectation of the application of logical thinking in adults. I.e., if I tell you that there's a dead fucking dove in the bag, that is what you should expect to see. A dead fucking dove. If you then become upset about the dead fucking dove that your eyes have now been assaulted with, you are
a moron.
And I say this as someone who has made certain moronic decisions that have come back to bite me in the ass because I was forewarned and chose actively not to arm myself with that heads up. Alas, in those instances, I had no one to blame but myself. And so when I go through the tags on AO3 or I read the synopsis on the book I want to pick up or a summary of a movie or a game or a TV show or watch the trailer on a new anime I want to start, and then something happens that hits me in the face and has me clenching in revulsion, a part of my brain supplies me with that deadpan voice.
I don't know what I expected.
Because usually, often, before you make any purchasing decisions or a decision to invest your time in something, everybody expects that you've done your research and due diligence, and that you choosing to pick it up is because you've agreed with the terms of engagement. This is what you're signing up for. This is what you would get. So please tell me why we have people on this same planet that we are all on act surprised and shocked when they get what they've signed up for. And this isn't just limited to fan fiction and tags like blood and violence, dubcon, under-negotiated kink and manipulative relationship. I'm speaking more generally in this regard because it applies to practically every aspect of our lives. The instruction manual that comes with your blender warns you of the sound decibel said blender can reach. And now you're throwing a fit because your 18-year-old gym nut roommate is blending their morning pre-workout smoothie at the crack ass of dawn before they go pump iron, and you're grumbling about how you had no idea that the blender would be so loud. Bitch, they told you. It was right there in the small and big print. Did you not fucking read?
Like, come on.
Because if you cannot see the very obvious sign of the dead dove and then dig in, expecting to grab a club sandwich, who is to blame for the rotten piece of flesh you're now holding? The person who wrote the note, or you who couldn't be bothered to read the note even though you live with other people, meaning that someone would likely have their shit in the place you probably didn't suspect. And because you don't live alone, you have to check, just to be extra sure. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I saw someone talk about romance novels with illustrated covers and how that would be confusing to kids who would think it's something cute and sweet that they can read, and now they're reading a book about Rodney getting teabagged, and God's, how scandalous is that? And I'm just over there like, do synopses exist for show? Those scribbled lines at the back of the book that talk about how Rodney has just gotten out of a divorce and is looking to rediscover the joys of life and sex. And would you look at that? Rodney is running to his old classmate from university or college, depending on what country Rodney is living in. Michael, who's always been flamboyantly gay and just a tiny bit slutty, but now he's so much more slutty as an adult. And Rodney's like, you know what? I want to try something new. The best way to get over an old lover is to get underneath a new one. And then feelings come in, because of course they do. And now, how would Rodney and Michael deal with it? Who would read that synopsis and think, yeah, this is a great gift for a 10-year-old? Now, I'm pretty sure it's obvious from my tone, but just in case you've decided that the story sounds fantastic and you would love to read it, unfortunately, there's no book that features Michael and Rodney. That's just me pulling that out of my ass as an analogy to make a point. And what's that point? Simple. From the synopsis, one can tell that there would be sex, a copious amount of it, and most likely some teabagging, and there will be emotions born from said sex, and hopefully a happy ever after at the end of the story. Expectations were set based on what we as readers should expect, and we got those expectations met. If you're someone who is irked by the thought of someone being teabagged or teabagging another person, then you know that particular story isn't for you. That's the whole premise of Dead Dove, Do Not Eat. But what I've noticed recently is that you have a ton of people who would read the synopsis of Michael and Rodney's story, be aware that they aren't interested in reading descriptive sex scenes, know that they can't stand teabagging as a concept or sexual act, and then go right ahead to read the book. Then after they're done reading it, they take up arms, upset that their delicate sensibilities have been besmirched because how fucking dare Rodney and Michael, two consenting adults, have sex where one or the other gets teabagged. And that becomes their entire identity. They're upset about it. They talk about it. They keep talking about it. So much so that you want to pull your hair out because, excuse the fuck me, did you not see the dead fucking dove? It was right there. Right there. You decided to ignore the warning and now you're upset that you got what you were warned about? Now you're upset that the dead dove didn't turn out to be foie gras? That's not how life works.
Unfortunately, for you.
The amount of outrage I've seen about Icebreaker by Anna Grace just makes me laugh my ass off. Like, sure, if your complaint about the book is that we don't get much of a plot and the characters are a ton and not properly fleshed out, one, that's your prerogative. Books are subjective and you're allowed to love or hate whatever book you like or prefer. Although that complaint just has me wondering if you often read new adult sport romances, because Icebreaker is pretty expected for its genre. You get a ton of characters who aren't as fleshed out because Anna wants you invested in Maple Hills, the series of which Icebreaker is the first book, so that as you read the next couple of books and meet the other characters who have already been set up in the first book in the series, you end up bonding with them and being just as invested in their story and their romance. That's how these books work. That's the expectation set when you get into them. Those who read sporty new adult romances set on university campuses know that that's basically how those stories play out. But then you have a subset of the haters of this book complaining like vitriol level type shit about the sex in it. And I'm like, once again, it's a new adult sports romance. They are going to fuck. They are young, in college, and are fit. One's an ice skater, the other plays hockey. They have the stamina of workhorses and will fuck like ones too. If you were not expecting that, I'm sorry that you were disappointed or signed up for more than you got. But having this escalate to people calling for romance novels to start getting ratings, which...
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
And then harping on about how there's sex or too much sex in this book just makes me go, it's a romance book, a romance novel. Not having sex in them is the novelty. Since I nabbed my mom's Jackie Collins novels as a precocious teenager and started my library of old-time Mills and Boons, Harlequins and Silhouettes, I've always walked into romance novels with the full expectation that there will be sex in there. Some more explicit than others. Hello, erotica. But there will be sex. If I didn't want sex in them, I just skipped the pages. But I didn't pick up romance books expecting that the writers wouldn't write sex. Like, they don't work that way. Dead dove, do not eat. And I say this as someone who once saw a sign that read, warning, high electricity voltage, children stay clear. I went right ahead, straight to it, and gripped it with my two hands. Now, I've not been to church in a long as while. The Christian God and I parted ways over a decade ago. And honestly, it has worked great for me. But you know that hymn that if you went to church, you probably heard at one point in your life. The one composed by D.W. Whittle. There shall be showers of blessings. This is the promise of love. There shall be seasons refreshing, set from the Savior above. Showers of blessings we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. Yeah, your girl went to a Baptist secondary school. Gods, I suffer. But the songs banged though. Anyway, like that song might have teased, just in case you didn't get it, I proceeded to pee on myself. Because when electricity is running through your body, you have zero control over your bowels. And because I was on the second floor, there were real showers of blessings.
TMI, Jane, TMI.
The signs were there. I proceeded to stick my hand in anyway and found out what happens when you fuck around. But here's the thing. My ass was 5. So I could easily get away with, I'm a child. I didn't know any better. And most importantly, my ass couldn't read. Not at that age anyway. You can't blame me for ignoring the writing on the wall when I couldn't fucking read it now, can you? But a lot of people who make these complaints about getting a product that scarred them or upset them when they had already been given the heads up via information about what the product is before purchase or renting it out are adults who most likely can read and have fully developed brains that should be able to let them know that this shit that they're about to consume might not be to their liking, especially when it's spelled out to them upfront. So why do they go ahead with that anyway? Is it for the chance to complain? Because having that information should ideally serve other users. In a University of Michigan paper titled Introduction to Content Warnings and Trigger Warnings, content warnings or trigger warnings are defined as verbal or written notices that precede potentially sensitive content. These notices flag the content of the material that follows so that readers, listeners, or viewers can prepare themselves to adequately engage or, if necessary, disengage for their own well-being. Now, not everything you want to consume, be it book or a show or a movie or a video game, contains content or trigger warnings. However, I do believe that the synopsis or summary of what you're about to engage in should be the first point of contact. The first bit of warning about the potential content you're about to engage with, which therefore gives you an idea of what to expect. It might not be as detailed as a list, but it's a good starting point. If, for example, you know that you might not be interested in medieval politics, especially ones based off of history, then you would know that neither A Song of Ice and Fire nor the TV show Game of Thrones is the right pick for you. If you're from a deeply religious household, then maybe magical shows like The Witches of Eastwick or The Magicians are not for you either. And if horror is not your cup of tea, then maybe take a couple of steps away from the Junji Ito collection, either the anime or the manga. Take your pick. Stay away. Because that isn't content you would enjoy. That is something that you might be disinterested in or scarred by. And sure, maybe you want to push the boundaries of what you are interested in and can handle. Maybe you want to see if there might be a kernel of interest in there. That's fine. I've had to push certain boundaries to realize that some things I thought were not my jam were actually not bad. In fact, I could go on to say they were pretty good. For example, Annabelle. And for the stuff I just could not get into no matter how hard I tried, like say Devilman Crybaby, I kept it moving. I didn't go to review bomb it because it lived up to its expectations and said expectations weren't what I wanted in my anime. I didn't go to chat sites to harass or stalk or just loudly proclaim to the world that it's trash and people who enjoyed it don't have any taste or any sense. Like, that made no sense. Why? Because dead dove do not eat. I just put that package back in the fridge and went on about my day. You should too. You should also consider subscribing to my channel if you're not yet subscribed. Like this video if you enjoyed what I had to say, and share this video as well to help get more people and more eyeballs on my content. It helps grow my channel. If you want to support this channel, you can also consider supporting me on Patreon. I'm growing a community on there and would love to have you. And if you want to see more from me, do remember that I make new bookish related videos on Fridays at 5 p.m. EST. So do come right around next week for new thoughts. If, however, you also love anime or manga content, then come around on Monday as well at 5 p.m. EST for new videos from yours truly. Until then, do remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.